let's come to right to resale. Right to resale means you are again selling the goods. You sold the goods to the buyer did not pay the price, you did not give him the delivery. Instead, you are selling it to some other person. It's like A, who's the seller, sold goods to B, who's the original buyer. Okay. Now, this buyer does not pay him the price, does not pay price. So this is the first transaction, this is the second thing that is happening. So what he does is, third thing, he does not deliver goods to B. Okay. So he exercises his right of lien, and then to recover the price of goods, he sells it to C, who's the new buyer. So this will be called as resale. So this is the fourth thing that is happening here. So there was an original buyer who did not pay the price. The possession of the goods was with the seller and he sold it to somebody else. Okay. So this is a typical transaction of resale. Okay. So it is available if the seller gives notice of reasonable to the buyer. Now in this case, A has sold goods to C, but he cannot directly sell them to C. First, he has to warn B. He has to tell him that if you do not pay me the price, I'll sell these goods to C. So please bear in mind that you pay me the price, else I'll sell these goods to C. So now what is he doing is he's giving a notice to the buyer that he has an intention to resell the goods. Okay, so he has to first give the notice of resale to the buyer and he has to give him reasonable time to pay him back. Let's say 10 days, 15 days, a month. Now this reasonable time will differ from case to case basis. The next point is, if the goods are of perishable nature, then the notice of resale is not required because the goods will perish. Now I cannot give, let's say I am a dealer in milk. Now if the buyer is not paying me the price, I have to dispose of milk. Otherwise what will happen is I'll incur loss. So I cannot wait for buyer to pay me. I cannot wait till the time I give him notice, I give him reasonable time, then he pays me back or no, I don't know. I cannot wait for so long. So if the goods are of perishable nature, he can straight away resell them. No requirement of notice is there. Okay. So let's see, depending on if the seller gives the notice or no, what would be the condition? If there is a loss on resale, if notice is given to the buyer, loss can be recovered by A from B. Let's say, this is the transaction. Same, he sells him goods. But B does not pay him the price, so he resells the goods here to C. Now he had actually sold him the goods for rupees, let's say the actual sale was rupees 100. Now, let's take two situations here. First, he resells the goods to C for rupees 90 or for rupees 110. 10. So we have two conditions here. So if A resells the goods at rupees 90, he'll be incurring a loss. Or if he resells the goods for rupees 110, he'll be getting a profit of 10 rupees. Now, if A has given the notice to B that he'll be reselling the goods and the resale is done at a loss, so can he recover the loss from B? Yes, he can recover the loss from B. And if he has profit, the seller, who's A here, S here means the seller, B means the buyer. Okay, so the seller can retain the profit. If he sells it for 110, he can keep 10 rupees in his pocket. Now let's assume that the seller has not given the notice to the buyer and the goods are not perishable. So if he sells them at loss, he cannot recover the loss. And if he sells it at profit, he'll have to give the profit to the buyer, original buyer. He cannot retain them. He'll have to pass it to the original buyer. Okay. So this completes the rights which the seller has. There's one more right that he has, which is of withholding the delivery. It is almost similar to lien over goods. That is, he does not deliver the goods to the buyer. So this brings us to the end of the rights that the seller has over the goods. That is, rights against the goods, or in Latin we call it jus in rem. Okay, now let's consider jus in personam.